Welcome to Home Buying Made Easy, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on mortgages, real estate, and everything the big banks hope you never figure out. I'm Rachel, co-host and producer of the show. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Home Buying Made Easy. I am Michael, and we are having another episode of Home Buying Made Easy podcast here. I have my handy dandy assistant. Her name is Handy Dendy. Her name is Rachel, and Rachel is with me. She is back, and now that she's back, she decided she was going to be half dead and sick and all this other stuff. Okay. But now she's back, and I'm glad she's back. I did enjoy the time away because I was able to hang out with my wife. Like I was able to do podcasts with my wife.
You're glad I was sick.
I'm not glad you were sick. I'm just glad that my wife was able to fill in.
Yes.
And that was kind of cool.
I'm glad she filled in.
I'm glad she would, because she's not known for like, hey, I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
But she did it. Mainly because I didn't put her on the camera. Yeah. That's why she did it.
She pulled a Rachel.
She did pull a Rachel because, see, I don't know if you know this, but right over there, that way, is where Rachel is at. Yep. That's where she's at.
They can't, I mean, most people listen to this on podcasts, not
That's
video,
true. But hey, we put the videos out there too. So if you want to watch the video, you can jump on YouTube and we'll show you the video. And you can watch us or watch me. And watch me point at you.
Look at me.
There. And look at you all the time. Or a lot. It's odd. Okay. There you go. So what do we have in store today? We're not talking about myths. This is not Monday. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about chickens. I went and picked up eggs today.
I picked up my sister.
You picked up your sister?
From the airport, yeah.
I picked up a dog. I picked up hamburgers. I didn't get a hamburger. I got a hot dog.
I took the last hamburger.
That's so wrong.
Sorry. Okay, the topic of today's episode is going to be what happens if the appraisal comes in lower than you expected.
Everybody dies. So here's, it really depends on the type of program that this is for, the type of loan. So if this is a conventional loan or an FHA loan or maybe a USDA loan, non-QM qualified mortgage loan, an appraisal coming in low would mean that you would do what's called a reconsideration of value. And the reconsideration of value would be you just pushing back through the lender. Like you go to the lender and say, hey, I think that this has, it's actually a higher value. Could we have them re-look at that appraisal? And there's a lot of different ways that lenders choose to go about doing that. This is completely different. I want to make sure this is separate from the VA. The VA loan, the veterans loan, they have a whole different process. But for all the other loans, there is a reconsideration process with most lenders and with most, they're called appraisal management companies, that they will go in and maybe you give them some other comparable properties, or they may ask you for to have the agents provide other properties that then the reason they feel like that it's higher. So that would be the next step. If there's a gross error, like a big mistake, I actually had one recently, and recently that particular one was if a property is close to maybe a railroad or and it is a diminished valued property, and you put that into the appraisal, then you have to make an adjustment to that property based on the fact that it has been diminished by the railroad or whatever. So the appraiser did not do that. We asked him to look at it and they looked at it. They did not make any changes. And so we asked the lender to see if this appraisal was deficient. The lender labeled the appraisal deficient, and then the lender paid for a new appraisal. They didn't make the buyer pay for it. The lender paid for the new appraisal. They gave it a higher price because that particular comparable property was not, it created a deficiency in that appraisal. And they came out with, and they give it a higher price. So a higher value. And that's just an example of how things can go. And that was a conventional loan. So on the VA side, if you're going to do a VA loan, the process is a little different. An appraiser goes out, looks at the property, does their research, and then they come back and they say, hey, we look at this property and we're not seeing that it makes this value. They issue Tidewater. Tidewater is a method for veterans, for appraisers to use when veterans are involved and they're doing a VA loan. And the Tidewater process has a strict timeline where there's so many days that you have to produce comparable properties. What I usually do is I take that back to the listing agent and the buyer's agent and say, hey, we need some other properties. The appraiser's having a hard time finding properties that meet the value that we're looking for. So if you could provide some additional comparable properties, that would be great. They do that. It's on a specific form. It's like a grid is what it's called, Tidewater grid. And then once they do that, we submit that back to the appraiser. And once the appraiser has it, they then can finish out the appraisal. Now, if they finish out the appraisal and it still comes in low, we still have an opportunity to submit for that reconsideration of value. That reconsideration of value would allow to do that again, provide more comps. We wouldn't be able to provide the Tidewater comps because we already did. We'd have to provide new ones, but it gives a couple of opportunities. They actually have a pretty good process because before the appraiser even finishes, it's almost like the appraiser saying, hey, tell me how you got to the purchase price. Tell me how you got to that value that you're trying to reach. And it gives us an opportunity ahead of time to help the appraiser understand how we came up with the pricing that we came up with. And then if it doesn't work, we still have that reconsideration process. That process can take, it's different in every state, but it can take the first part, so it can take 48 hours. And then after that, there's usually 3 to 5 days. And then a reconsideration could be a 10 business days. It's all regulated by the VA loan and the VA guidelines.
Yeah. If it comes in low, can you negotiate that price down?
Yeah. So if it comes in low, what that does is it basically sets up to open the contract. So the purchase agreement that you have between a buyer and a seller, if it comes in low, you're basically telling the buyer's agent, hey, this came in low. We need to negotiate to the lower price, or your buyer's going to have to come up with a difference. Because if it's a $500,000 house purchase price and the appraisal comes in at $495,000, that $495,000, then there's a $5,000 discrepancy. So either the seller is going to have to come down to $495,000, or the buyer is going to have to pay $5,000 out of their pocket because the house only appraised at $495,000.
Yeah.
So that everything in the loan will be based on the $495,000 price, not on the $500,000 price.
Yeah. Is that what's called the appraisal gap, or no?
It is an appraisal gap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good answer. Good. Yeah.
I'm learning.
Ta-da.
Okay. What if the seller won't budge on that price? Like they just have to pay it?
Either the buyer would have to pay it, or the contract is open at that point because it did not make the value. So the buyer could choose to walk away.
Yeah.
The contract is set up most of the time. If you didn't do an appraisal guarantee, then you are eligible to end the contract, terminate the contract, and get your earnest money back.
Nice. And that was my last question. Do you get your earnest money back? And
You would get
just-
your earnest money
you
back
just answered it.
if it came in short and you chose not to move forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes today's episode.
There you go. If you have more information you want, or you want to ask any questions, you want us to give you a second opinion on any mortgage or anything you have going on, or if you just want information about any of the books that I've written about keeping the cash or paying off your loan in 10 years or less, or you're a first-time home buyer or you're a veteran, we'll be glad to help you any way we can. All you have to do is reach out. I'll put a book in your hands. You don't even have to pay for the book. You can just pay the shipping. If you're a veteran, you can just let me know. I'll give it to you for free. I'll send it to you in the mail. We'll see you next episode.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Home Buying Made Easy. If something we covered today helped you see things differently, share this episode with one person who needs to hear it. You might just change their financial future. If you're ready to take your next step, our team is standing by. Call or text us directly at 615-499-6335. You can also reach us at michael@dendyteam.com or use the link in the show notes below. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday. Hit subscribe so you're always first in line. And if this show has brought you value, a 5-star review takes 30 seconds or less and helps more people find us. From our team to you, let's make home buying easy.